What is going on, everybody? We are going to do a little bit of painting today, just as a little hangout. You won't really be able to see the way the camera's set up, but I'll, try to include you or show you what's going on. I'm going to work on this guy, this doctor from Massive Darkness, Roman Asimov. And he's right here. So I'm going to try out the white contrast paint on him, then some Death Shroud Clear, which is the black clear paint from Games Workshop. Also, we will be finishing up these eliminators for a commission and talking about just Warhammer in general and whatnot. So if anybody wants to chit chat, feel free to use the chat, and I'll just be hanging out here pushing some paint around. I don't really have... Hey, what's going on? Inquisitor Zane from the famous Frost and Fist live stream has joined the chat. All right, so the Apothecary White gets kind of chunky at the bottom, and I have it on a shaker, and it's still doing that. I'm not sure if... Hopefully that doesn't affect it, because the white's so subtle anyway. If having it a little separated makes it worse, that's not going to be great. But we're going to try it anyway. We'll make it work. Pretty easy to fix mistakes with paint anyway, so... Yeah, it's also 151 here, so I guess we're in the same spot. I think you might have told me that. You're in Awatuki or Chandler or something. I think you mentioned that before. Yeah, actually, I ended up... My sleep schedule gets really crazy, so 150 in the morning doesn't really mean anything to me right now. And it's even crazier now that I don't break up my sleep patterns with going to like the game store on Saturday afternoon or going to paint. All right. So I actually did buy the Gray Seer GW primer to try out, and especially for these little board game miniatures. I know it's really expensive, probably overcosted, but I mean, it's quick. I do have a couple of airbrushes and stuff, but it is quick. You can't deny how fast it is to rattle can prime something. Normally I'll use like Rust-Oleum, but for this we are using the Gray Seer primer, and right now we're using Contrast Apothecary White. Hey, in California right now, is it like, I don't know, required by the governor to shut down like non-essential businesses, or is it just kind of a do your own social distancing right now? Here, actually today, or Saturday, I guess today's technically Sunday, my local game store that I hang out at actually just closed. They temporarily, but they were closing just the game side, and you could still go shop. But now today they have closed the doors to protect their employees. And on Friday, I actually went down there. This is doing nothing. This Apothecary White is doing nothing. But all right. Oh, it is required. Yeah, I think in Arizona it's not required yet. But we might be getting there soon. Yeah, our game store was open, and then they, just limit how many people could be in the store at once. There's a lot of game stores in Phoenix, Arizona, but so you could still go buy stuff. And actually, I'll show my little haul. I went in on Friday, and just to support them, it's a popular game store, so I'm sure when they reopen, then they will. everything will be fine, and all the employees and owner and everybody will be great. But just to show my support, I went and bought 2 new paint handles, the red ones, so that's pretty fancy. I had the black one already, and I was working on these eliminators, and it's a little squad of 3 guys, and I was getting tired of one guy being on this and the other 2 not on this. I use like makeshift ones too, and they work fine. I just wanted to go buy some stuff from the store. Here's like a makeshift one with poster tack and a wooden spool or whatever. And then I picked up, what else did I pick up? I got a new Agrax Earthshade, which I'm not out yet, but I'm getting there. And if you watched any of my other videos where I talk about this paint, Death Shroud Clear, and I have the purple as well, which I haven't tried yet, and we will try that soon. I also decided to try some of the other ones. Mortarion Green Clear, Calth Blue Clear, Angron Red Clear. So these are very, very interesting. I'm excited to actually start trying all these now. I should have I was going to pick up the yellow too, but because the way these settle into the recesses, I didn't feel like putting bright yellow into recesses was going to do anything. And I have 2 pots of Lamenter's yellow glaze. So decided against buying the yellow for now. And I do also have the Bloodletter glaze and the Gilliman blue glaze. So they're similar to these, but I guess not exactly the same. And then I also picked up Pterodon Turquoise Contrast Paint, which currently I have the Achelian Green, the Talisar Blue, and the Aethermatic Blue, so I wanted to try another blue. And then I got Militarum Green, which actually I think is going to have some good uses. I haven't tried it yet. And I didn't notice this, but this one's really fogged up there at the bottom. So we'll see if that ever comes out. Maybe actually to get it off the bottom, you have to stick something in and physically stir it. Because my paint shaker, I have the Robart paint shaker, did not really do much for the Apothecary White there. Yeah, I mean, this is basically nothing. Oh well. Yeah, it seems like, I mean, luckily if you got the game or the curbside pickup, you can still get stuff. I basically buy all my stuff from the same store, so I wanted to just go pick up a few things just to play with, just to entertain myself during this kind of self-quarantine social distancing, I guess. Oh, awesome. Did you put the order in on eBay right now? I haven't checked. Let me go over and check. Zane in California. I see it. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have that. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'll have those out either tomorrow or Tuesday. My plan was this week, I'm not really going to leave the house unless I have to go to the post office because I have food. And I do have some packages over at my parents' house, but my mom has COPD, so just in case, I try to limit going over there. Because, I go to the store and stuff and post office, so trying to limit my exposure, although I don't have any symptoms. No, what happened to the first set? Oh, no, something tragic. We actually have... I always say we because I feel like we all, like all the backers from Kickstarter and stuff, but it's really just me all by myself who works on this. But I have some pretty exciting news that I have been testing a new size Ghost Brush, a much smaller one than the current 00. And so that'll be in the future. Obviously not until I ship this last Kickstarter that we just did, but yeah, it looks pretty promising for a really teeny tiny one. So I know it's not going to solve any problems right now, but if you need a teeny tiny detail brush, Ghost Brush will have one in the future. All right, so this Apothecary White did just nothing. Maybe you have to use that over white primer and not the gray sear, because it's such a light gray. That's probably what it is. So let's use this opportunity to Death Shroud Clear. And the Apothecary White might still be wet, but that's okay. Maybe I need to put him on a little spool. I don't know if I have an extra one floating around. Oh yeah, I do. I'm gonna stick him on a handle here. This is just a poster tack on this little wooden spool I got from, I think, Hobby Lobby or something. Hobby Bench, Hobby Lobby maybe. It's in like the craft section with like wood treasure chests and boxes and stuff. All right, so now he's on there. Did you leave paint on the brush? All of them? That's a terrible idea. Yeah, I didn't see the Frost and Fish show on Friday. I never saw it in my stream, and I was home. I just wish I would have caught it. It's a little more fun to watch them live. Or I actually could have been on it since I was just stuck at home. If they needed a guest, I don't know. I'll have to check if they had a guest. Oh man, this Death Shroud Clear is so good. Let's see if you can. You can't see that. Maybe you can. Let's hold it over to my hat so I can put a black behind it. I'm painting this black clear paint right out of the pot onto this Apothecary White miniature. And you can see it's just settling in the little deepest recesses. It doesn't barely even, if at all, stain the non-recessed areas. It's so good. Just for adding a little more like kind of black line shadow definition. Of course, I'm going to go back over and paint over all this and highlight it up, but really to give yourself some nice shadows. If you want your shadows in the black, kind of dark gray spectrum. But that's why I picked up those other colors, because I want to see, and really I should have tried them, but I just know this works, so I immediately, out of habit, went to this one. I should have actually tried the blue, because him being a white doctor, like doctor outfit or hospital outfit, the blue probably would have been a nice shadow color. And I'm being pretty liberal. I think I'm going to apply it over his face and everything too. Yeah, I'm going to apply it over the whole model. Just so we can get all the details easily popped out here. Don't ever. So you left them like face down in a pot of water? Yeah, you don't ever want to do that. That's really, really bad for any paintbrush. Just swish it around and lay it on its side, or some people like to store them upside down in the oil painting world. Well, of course, you weren't supposed to do that because they're all destroyed, but so that's crazy. So was just the floating bits of floating residue in your water cup or whatever evaporated out, and then all that paint collected at the bottom, and since it was wet floating in the water, it dried when it was evaporated. That's kind of crazy. All right, so yeah, now you can see you can't see. Anyway, Death Shroud Clear, he's got, you can see there on his legs and stuff. See there on his legs, he's got kind of dark shadows now. We might actually just dry brush him maybe like celestial gray and then ulthwin gray or white. Actually, you might even skip ulthwin gray, maybe just dry brush them celestial and like pallid witch flesh. These board game miniatures, I'm trying to practice like speed painting. Not necessarily speed painting per se, but getting them done. That's speed painting. Here's a monster I did in a mostly contrast paints. This is for Deep Madness as well. Yeah, and these are just quick, fast, loose paint jobs, contrast paints, washes. Call them done. Maybe so. Oh, I put a little highlight on there. I'm making kind of like dark, neutral washes and putting them in these little pots. Mixing things like this black dipping wash from Vallejo with some colored washes, like the dark yellow and maybe some inks, making my own kind of generic dark neutral washes for these monsters for the board game. And I only have, I think, 6 heroes, and I think 5 monsters left, maybe 4 monsters left, and I'll have the whole game painted finally, which means after they are done, when this quarantine thing is over, I'll be able to play. Wow, I'm surprised any of them survived. I would never. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, I'm sure I do. Yeah. So here's one of my original test. See, it's not labeled. This is an original test brush. And you see, because the water, the wood can swell up and the lacquer will break off. So you can see the wood exposed. So that does happen. I assume that would have happened to yours if you left them sitting in water. But yeah, the brush, I mean, this thing, you can even see all the paint in the low there on the ferrule that, obviously I tell people to avoid, but it happens. But yeah, it actually still holds, not like a tip well enough for like, an eyeball dot or whatever, but, really still good for painting little straps and stuff. And this has been around now for over a year, because this is one of the original test brushes right before I put in to get them made, when I finally found some that I liked. So I still have all of them, actually. I don't think any of my original test brushes have been sacrificed or thrown away. Mostly because I am doing quality control on the brushes. I end up painting mostly with the ones that I can't ship to somebody, like ones that are mistakes, or they're only like half a brush, just whatever the factory has sent me. So I pull them out, and if they're somewhat useful, I paint with those now mostly. Here's another original, no label. Still holding a pretty good, well, no, it's split a little bit. It looks like I got a little paint in there. Yeah, this one actually might be. Yeah, this one's in bad shape. Well, like I said, it's, I don't know, like a year and a half old now. And I'm I like to use the same, even though I have hundreds or thousands of brushes now, thousands, I guess, because I have all the ghost brushes. But I still use the same ones over and over and over again, basically. Yeah, did you get on the ghost or the dry brush Kickstarter? Yeah, the economic fallout of what's going on right now, I think, could be potentially worse than the actual casualties or whatever. The amount of people that are just going to be, restaurants have a hard enough time staying open in general, I used to be a waiter. I used to be a bartender. I used to be a busboy. And, if you're a waiter, you don't really make an hourly wage in Arizona. It's really like $5 or whatever. And you live off tips. So if you have slow nights, you don't make any money. And now you have no nights. You don't even get to go to work. So I can't imagine. Plus, easy come, easy go, right? In cash businesses like being a waiter, bartender, you always have a pile of cash, which means you're always spending cash and just, living day to day. If not, there's no real paycheck to paycheck. It's almost day to day. If you have rent in 3 days, you might work, 2 doubles or 3 doubles because you didn't, you went partying the week before, you went on vacation. But yeah, after I lost all my money in Vegas, when I came back, I know what it feels. I went back to Arizona where I'm at now. I know what it feels like to lose everything and be in a massive negative amount of money. I owed the IRS, I owed Visa, I owed Geico, I owed Las Vegas NV Energy, which is the electric company in Vegas. I owed the apartment complex I moved from. I think I might owe. I ended up owing like some hospitals. So as I worked that off, I knew I wasn't going to let that happen again. So since then, I've actually tried to be. I do buy a lot of hobby stuff. So my hobby budget's probably a little too high. But I don't really buy anything else. I drive an old car, an old van. I don't buy new clothes. A lot of my shirts were free, and I'm just going to wear them until they get holes. I own 2 pairs of jeans. I own 1 pair of shoes. I'm not. So I try to save all my money. So luckily, during an event like this, which of course nobody expected, I'm pretty safe from it as far as financially. Yeah, I don't know if you have a local, obviously when this is all over, if you have a local store too, I could email them and see if they want to start carrying the brushes at the store. That way you can pick them up individually. I sell them when they're in like retail stores, they're just sold individually. And right now, obviously on eBay, I just have them as a set just for simplicity and also because shipping. I didn't know if people would want to buy 1 brush and then pay almost the identical price in shipping. Yeah, the difference that people like, I learned this already because I lost everything I had as far as money goes. My car had a Cadillac Eldorado. It was cool. Lost that. You learn quickly the difference between having money like saved or having money and having an income. Whereas a lot of people confuse having an income with having money as if that income is invincible or not going anywhere, which of course nobody could expect how horrific this thing is. But man, I've been trying to protect myself now for quite a few years. 6 years, maybe 7 years. Been trying to, I don't know. Lately too, actually 2 years ago, I started listening to some like minimalism, which clearly from all this is not minimalism, but some audiobooks on minimalism and like some podcasts and TED Talks and stuff. And it's pretty cool. I like the idea of it. Like, the less stuff you have, the less your cost of living is and so on, which means you can spend your money on other things like travel or vacations. Or what I do mostly is I buy stocks in the stock market, and I'm trying to basically save up basically build a dividend portfolio that the monthly or quarterly dividends from the stocks will cover my cost of living. And that at that point, you're basically financially independent, because if you're more, and we're talking low cost of living, like your cheap rent, maybe a roommate situation. I don't have a roommate right now, not lavish lifestyle that people don't necessarily strive for. But if all of that was the bare minimum covered by like a your stock dividends, then at least you have the security of, say, you always know you could have a roof over your head and food and water and gas in your car, maybe, or at least for public transportation. Yeah, so it's interesting. I found this out. So, but I don't think I can live as extremely minimalistic as someone else. Yeah, that so I don't think I'm going down to 29 essential items in a backpack, but it does make me think about why am I still holding on to like this Tyranid army for 4 years or however long ago it is that I got it when I've never even played them or glued together. I painted one model, like things like that. Like if you're not going to touch it in years, it's probably better to just have that money sitting in the stock market or something. Whereas now it just takes up space. And that's the same. I played my Thousand Suns a few times. And now I've sold a lot of them off. I'm trying to work on my Eldar. I got my Space Marines, which I don't really love. And I got my AdMech, which I like a lot. But, I got rid of a lot of my Sigmar armies. And so I try to think about it like that. Like, just basically hoarding miniatures and hobby supplies. I have so many big board games that I backed on Kickstarter. That's like this deep madness. And what I really think I should do is start, playing through them with my friends and then trying to sell them off. Because after you play like, one of these dungeon crawl board games for like 3-4 months every Saturday with your friends, are you really going to go back and start it over at some point? And probably not, because there's always new games coming out. Like if you're into like dungeon crawl board games with a bunch of miniatures, if you go on Kickstarter at any day, there's 5 of them that look pretty cool. Maybe not 5, but yeah, checking my phone here real quick. Did you watch the GW? Do you play Games Workshop games? Do you play Warhammer or 40K? Inquisitor Zane, I guess you play 40K. What faction are you playing? I guess I'll show these two. I got some Gasland cars I'm working on. This guy's like a Piranha car. So I got him repainted with some Turbo Dork red that I bought at LVO. And I got this little toaster car that I'm working on. So those will be finished up before the self-quarantine is over. Yeah, I could see that. So did you pick up the new Sisters of Battle? They look so cool. They seem a bit of a horde army, though, that I don't think I would get into them. Actually, I'm going to have so much Eldar. Like, if I'm not playing Eldar, then I'm wasting a lot of money. That's how I feel right now. And I even bought the Psychic Awakening book with the Eldar in it just to help motivate myself. And I'm close to finishing 1 unit of Dire Avengers. Like, a lot of them are built. I bought a lot of armies out for other people. I could definitely play with them. But I go through maybe what you would call phases, obvious. Well, I guess everybody calls it that. But yeah, I go through phases where I'm like, okay, I'm going to play 40K now. I'm going to play a lot of 40K, and then we do it for a couple weeks. And then we move on to another game. Like a board game. Right now we're playing Gaslands, or who knows, after this self-quarantine. I think what I'm going to do when my little doctor dries is clean up any overspill of the wash on these Space Marines here, which I think I did a pretty good job not letting that spill through. Actually, it looks pretty good. It's kind of hard to see. I usually paint over here I got 2 lights going that way, but I wanted to turn on the stream. There's a, have you ever watched James, I'm just trying to get around, oh, here we go, hold on. Yeah, if you're gonna get just a one thing to paint for sisters, I would go with the Exorcist tank. It's so crazy and so cool. That would be a fun one that I think, could ally in. I don't know if you're playing with all those units. Do you print out like all the rules for them, or seems like it'd be hard to keep track of stratagems and codex stuff for playing with lots of allies? I remember one game I played my AdMech, I played Deathwatch with an Imperial Knight and a Vindicare Assassin, and I had 3 books. I had the White Dwarf, the Knight Codex, and the Deathwatch Codex, and I was feeling kind of overwhelmed trying to remember all the rules. Although they, I hadn't played them a lot, and of course you memorize them eventually. All right, these guys are looking pretty cool. I just got to do the highlights on them, which I don't think I want to do on camera. Probably be a little too difficult. I'd have to clean, doing all the little line highlights on Space Marines. Have to probably spend too much time cleaning up mistakes to make it worth doing it. So I'll switch to somebody else here. Yeah, once those Primaris guys came out, I sold all my Blood Angels and tried to get rid of all the small mini Marines, and I'm happy I did. They're I got quite a bit of my Primaris stuff done. I was playing as Iron Hands. Here we go. I'm going to work on a Rumble Slam guy here. The nerfs to the Iron Hands, which I'm not a competitive player, the nerfs to the Iron Hands kind of killed my play style, which was going to be, moving and shooting dreadnoughts. Hold on. I wanted my Space Marines to have Redemptor Dreadnoughts, the Primaris Marines, and I wanted them to be good. The Redemptor Dreadnoughts and the Iron Hands being able to get the feel no pain and have moving and shooting with no penalty and rerolling ones to hit. They all of a sudden were like, hey, these are pretty cool. They're not OP or nothing. And then with that Forge Father character, he gave them a 5-up invul, and they felt strong, and they nerfed all of that down. And now I'm just like, I've got 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, not even meta chasing, just trying to build a thematic cool army. And they took it all away. So I'm pretty bummed out about the Space Marines right now. Then we're going to take a little bit of purple, mix it in with some flesh tone here, and start highlighting our little guy. Have you ever seen the stream or the YouTube streamer? I don't know, YouTube streamer, but James Wapple. He's a painter on YouTube. Anyway, if you haven't checked him out, I think it's worth it because he has an interesting setup where I believe the camera he uses to film himself painting is like an all-in-one lamp camera webcam type thing, and I might get one of those. I don't know. I have a Panasonic camera right there in that box I still don't know how to use. But his setup, if it's just this all-in-one thing, seems more like my style. That would be really simple for me. How do we code it? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Battlescribe's good for that. The full mini marine chapter. Yeah, I feel like the mini marines are going away. But of course, you could just use them as, whatever. My thought on the mini marines and the Primaris marines is eventually they'll just be called, the Primaris will just be called Space Marines, and the mini marines you'll just use as Primaris. They'll all be one rule set, because it doesn't seem necessary to have a Primaris marine and a regular marine. It seems like you could just have them all as one war sheet or data sheet. But of course, that means they have to get special weapons and assault squads and all kinds of different units still before any of that could happen. Canceled because I was playing this game at Adepticon. Yeah, I think with the mini marines, you just probably, I imagine you just expect they'll become just, they'll just be marines and you'll be able to use them still, I would think. I don't think anybody's going to care. Because even if you think about it, like Eldar have to use the same crappy sculpts from the 90s. So it's like, takes a long, long time for them to replace stuff. I would love to see some new Swooping Hawk models, though. Mentioned that in my other video, that the new Howling Banshees, although the price is ridiculous on them for what you get, they're and they're not my favorite aspect warrior by any means. So I'll pay that price for Swooping Hawks. But the new Howling Banshees aren't different enough that I really need to replace all my Howling Banshees. Dislike painting the mini marines or the Primaris marines? Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If they're phased out of existence, then you just use them as Primaris marines, since there would be no reason why mini marines and Primaris marines would be on the battlefield. It'll all just be one thing. As long as you're on the correct base size, I think you would be safe. I don't think anybody would mind. Actually, I don't know who you play with or if you're into like tournaments and stuff. But for the most part, I don't think my friends really have ever minded, what I have brought. Technically, I probably could use stand-ins all the time if I wanted. I don't want to. All right, get this little guy. Yeah, what did you watch the preview, or did you go on YouTube and check out all the new preview models that they showed today? Cow elves. I feel like the cow elves were a mistake. I know they don't really bother me that much, but just from a point of like the reaction online. I don't think they're selling as many cow elves as they hoped they would. Seems like the majority. I mean, it's probably certainly could be the vocal minority, but the hatred of the cow elves seems real. They don't bother me really, except for how bad Teclis is. The sculpt of him. The monster he has is cool, but oh yeah, just painting the same guy over and over again. And especially Marines, if you're edge highlighting, like if you're airbrushing them to get your kind of highlight and avoiding most of the edge highlight and just, doing some little bit of edge highlight on maybe the really dominant edges, like the collar of their armor and stuff like that. But if you're edge highlighting too, like all those guys, oh my God, that would be so boring. It's hard to, even when you have to do like 9/8 edition with the rule of 3, if you're like, oh, I want 3 units of 10 of something, you do the first 10 and then the second 20 are like start to become impossible. At least that's how I feel. The AdMech are the only ones I got done, really. I got all my AdMech painted except for a few additional things I got. And I have a pretty fast scheme on them. People like them, which is rewarding. They won Best Painted, so they've won me some store credit before at a local event, which I love. And the Eldar, I do want to try and compete in Best Painted with. I don't know how I'm going to do that. All right, I think we got him highlighted. He's so small, I can't see him. Here's the big guy in the team, though. They're like a clown wrestling team. I made some crazy bases for them. I tried to do like old, maybe not old, but almost like a canvasy type mat with staining on it and blood splatters and stuff. It got a little out of hand, but it looks okay. All right, our clear coated doctor with the Death Shroud clear and the Apothecary white appears to be dry. So we're going to dry brush him with Celestial Gray, if I can find it. Actually, we may use something else here. I got so many paint. I got a whole thing of paint over there that I usually take to the game store. All right, actually, I think we're going to dry brush him in Frostbite Blue, which is a P3 color. Yeah, I got rid of most of my Nurgle demons now, and a lot of my Tzeentch demons are starting to get sold off. And I sold off some of my Khorne demons. I'm gonna just keep the Slaanesh guys, but I don't have any motivation to work on them right now. Oh, I gotta grab my dry brush. Guess now that I'm up, I could grab my Celestial Gray too. Hey, we got a new viewer. We went up to 3 viewers. This color is so good. I don't think I'll ever leave it behind. I think I'll always replace this pot when it runs out. But the Celestra, oh, it's not even Celestial. I don't even know how to say it. Celestra Gray from Games Workshop is such a good color. I know it's just gray, but it has just the right amount of blue. It makes a really, really good color for eyeballs on models and making them look white without making them look like derpy, like googly eye white. It's like a more natural eyeball white color on a model at that scale specifically. On a larger scale, if you have room on like a monster base with this, and then you can highlight up to Ulthwyn Gray, and that's also a really nice gray. I actually have the Ulthwyn Gray in the air line just because it was on clearance before they moved to the bigger pots. But it's really, really nice. And these are just so great to make white things, but not like white like my shirt. Because on 28 mil, that could be just too jarring, I guess. Pallid Witch Flesh is also a good white highlight without it being white. I wonder if I have a white here. I really don't even own a lot of white paints, but here's Rotten White. I don't even know why this is. If anybody watching knows why the heck this Game Effects, this is Vallejo Game Effects Rotten White. If anybody can tell me what the effect is of this, it just seems like white paint to me. But you can see, it's a little bit whiter than the Pallid Witch Flesh. But you want to avoid white, especially in the eyes of miniatures. Especially at the scale that they're made in. You could use white for like that dot highlight in the pupil or whatever. All right, we're using the Ghost dry brush here. It's all beat up and dirty because dry brushes get dirty. And we just loaded it up with some light blue paint here. Give it a little test on the back of the hand. Make sure it's not going to just put a big blue streak on our guy here. And I'm going to dry brush him using a downward motion. So forward, down, back, up, forward, down, back, up. That's just going to highlight the raised areas and bring our doctor to life. Basically knocking out all his scrubs or whatever they're called. Doctor outfit. Don't even have to look. I'm not even looking. Yeah, the new Chaos. Oh, I might have got paint on my hat. The new Chaos. Maybe I should look. The new Chaos Space Marines were pretty cool when they came out in that new set with the Spider Walker and the new Possessed guys and everything. Like, they look fun to paint. I'd be tempted to maybe get drawn into an Emperor's Children army because I have all these Slaanesh demons. If somehow they were more combined as like a Slaanesh demon plus Emperor's Children army, but I think it would be more like a Emperor's Children army, and thematically you would maybe add in some Slaanesh demons, which would not work. Also, it's possible with the new Psychic Awakening that the demons will get, who knows, maybe some new units, some new stratagems, some new rules that maybe you can actually play a demon army or an all Slaanesh army, and it could be, somewhat playable without just getting shot off the table and doing nothing. So there, and if one day I decide to get back in to Sigmar, I'll have the Slaanesh demons for that as well, as I sell off pretty much all my other Sigmar stuff. Hey, we're up to 4 viewers. Hey, everybody. Join the chat if you want to chit chat, or if you're working or painting. We're just hanging out, talking about the good old days when you could buy and play Warhammer and buy toilet paper at the grocery store and, cans of beans. You could find any kind of bean you want, not just the last 6 cans that other people left behind. Oh. I had a question. What can you use Night Haunt Gloom for? Going to get a set of those at some point, probably once they go up on sale for eBay. The set of the Chaos Space Marines. I don't actually own Night Haunt Gloom. I believe that's the dark blue, right? Hexwraith Flame, I think, is the bright green one. I don't think I own either of them, actually. Do I own either? I don't even know. I don't think I own either of them. So it seems kind of like a dark, shadowy blue. I think if you thinned it down with Vallejo Flow Improver or Lamian Medium or Contrast Medium, it would be a really good wash for any kind of white or gray to give you like some shadows without being quite as dark as like a Draconoth Nightshade. Of course, you could water down Draconoth Nightshade as well. I think Hexwraith Flame and Night Haunt Gloom were kind of almost the test paints for the new contrast line. I feel like they're kind of were close to how the new contrast paints were marketed and act. I really like the contrast paints for blocking in colors fast. And then you go back in and do all your highlights. And it just makes it seem very fast. You can also do it with an airbrush. Sometimes I'll do an airbrush base coats and then contrast paint is like basically a wash layer. Oh yeah, the dry brushes. Yeah, they'll be available after I start getting them all shipped out, which is going to be a little while. Obviously, things might be delayed now because of all this stuff going on in the world, but so far it seems like I'm on track, I guess. All right, I think he's probably dry brushed enough. He's just for a board game. Yeah, I think we will. One thing with dry brushes too, if you add water to them, then it almost becomes like a wet brush. So it's sometimes best to just keep working for a little while before you actually rinse off the brush, because you really have to dry it out. I'm going to switch to Ulthuan Gray here, which is not much of a highlight to what I was just doing, so I don't think it's going to work. So we'll just do a few strokes and then we'll switch colors. So we'll just see what happens. You guys won't be able to see, but only doing downward strokes here. I want to avoid highlighting anything from above. And that helps it too when it's a little board game miniature on the game board, because you're going to be looking down on it. It makes it look like it's like illuminated or pops a little bit. Sometimes I'm doing angles like this way and that way, but never upward. Very rarely do you want to dry brush upward on something, unless you're trying to maybe create light source coming from below. All right, he's looking pretty good. And before we rinse off my dry brush here, we're going to try Rotten White from Vallejo Game Effects. This paint is so thick. I still have no idea. I can't find any information on why this is supposed to be some kind of effect paint. Maybe because it's so thick. I don't know. It's an okay mixing white though. Because it's thick, you could just put a little blob out and just use little touches of it to lighten up highlights or whatever. Oh, so the Night Haunt Gloom, it was like meant for just painting it directly onto those ghosts, the Night Haunt models, and giving you kind of a ghostly spirit kind of effect. You know, it's kind of like a contrast paint where it settles in the recesses and then kind of leaves the edges a little highlighted, you know, the appearance of like a highlight on them. All right, so this Rotten White actually is a pretty good white to dry brush with. So that's good. I'll have to hopefully remember that. I know we can't see them, but it's fun to try. So he was Death Shroud, Apothecary white, Death Shroud clear, dry brush with a couple whites. That's all we got for him right now. You could use that Death Shroud clear as probably a pretty convincing shadow color on a power weapon or a sword. Like if you ever see people alternate, like when they do a power weapon, like let's say this is the sword, this will be dark. It'll be like dark, light, dark, and then opposite on the other side, so it'll be like light, dark in the middle, light. You'll see on every single power sword paint job, basically. That Death Shroud Clear would probably, or Death Shroud Gloom, or whatever the hell it's called, Night Haunt Gloom, would probably be a good shadow color to thinly put on to make shadows in your bright blues for power swords. Another option, if you wanted like a darker, kind of shadowy blue lens effect, you could probably put it kind of thin over a bright silver on like a silver eyeball. Like if you do your Space Marine eyes silver and then put that on, it should look like the center's brighter. Don't gob it on there, but that'd be a pretty good use for it. You could probably shoot it through an airbrush towards the bottom of like ultramarine type color rhinos and stuff to give yourself kind of like a shadow near the bottom of your vehicle. I haven't tried that, but I would think that's probably not a bad use. I don't actually own that paint. I thought I actually bought one of those one time. But I've never used it, so if I haven't, I don't know where it is. I thought I bought one of those to play with. I usually like buying all kinds of paints just to play with, but I always point my brush in my mouth, and obviously it's just not a good idea with the dry brushes because they're not going to go to a point, and they hold a lot of moisture, so yuck. Let's see. The Death Shroud Clear, I keep calling Death Shroud Clear. It's been on that's literally just staring at me in the eye. The Night Haunt Gloom, I think, would also be good if you painted like a base. This is not done that way, but like a concrete kind of slab color here. It's just like cork with texture paint on it. But anyway, if you painted like rocks or something, or want to do concrete, kind of like a cold gray, either a light blue gray or some kind of gray, celestial gray, then you use that Night Haunt Gloom as a wash on those rocks, and then dry brush back up to like a lighter grays. I think that would be a pretty convincing way to build kind of shadows into rocks. That'd be fun to try. Oh yeah, I think it would probably work pretty good on concrete, because I feel like concrete kind of has that bit of whatchamacallit, I don't know, almost like a murky gray blue shadow to it, or just that kind of feeling in general, especially, I don't know, sidewalks kind of have that gray blue. Another option too is, could be an interesting shadow color for like some greens. If you wanted to try to, let me grab, my Cyclops here. He has blue in his shadows. So like he's a green model, which I'll use my hat to try to give him a black background. He's a green model, but the shadows are actually pretty blue, fairly dark blue. And the cheeks there and his neck rolls. So that's kind of a fun way to add interest to your colors. is using another color for the shadows. And that was basically achieved by using like washes of like Drakenhof Nightshade, and I think I used some of the blue contrast paint maybe. I don't remember what. Anyway, like thinning down blues and putting the blues into the shadows of greens makes the greens a little more lively, I guess. I think you would use Nighthawk Gloom in like to replace a blue wash. Like you would use one or the other. So, and that would be purely dependent on, I guess, what color you were going for. If I remember correctly, the Nighthawk Gloom, I believe, is a more neutral blue, like a less saturated blue. Like if you look at, let's see if we can get an example here. Oh yeah, so like if you look at the lid of this is like a very saturated, ultramarine blue. And then if you look at this, which is called Stegadon Scale Green, it's not really green though, or very green. It's like a desaturated blue. Like they're both blue, or maybe I can find a different one here. Here's Dark Reaper color. They're blues, but this is a highly saturated, like true blue. So if your blue wash is like a true blue, you might actually prefer the Nighthawk as the wash to make your shadows desaturated. Yeah, I think you would just use it however if you had let's say you're painting ultramarine, if you used Drakenhof Nightshade, it would probably look like a darker true blue shadow. And if you use the Nighthawk Gloom, it would probably look like a desaturated gray blue shadow. And that would be, just artist preference. I do think the more you work in kind of muddy, I don't know. I say muddy because it's like an art term, but many people maybe don't use that. Paintings look real, I guess, when you use a lot of grays. Basically, every painting's like lots of grays, and then there's like more saturated colors used strategically to make things pop in the painting. Whereas in miniature painting, we use a lot of highly saturated colors. So sometimes it's nice, gives it a little more realism effect if you have kind of grays. So you can see here, maybe you can see, he's like highly saturated greens. But the skin tone's not like bright pink. It's kind of more desaturated. I don't really have a big example, I guess. This thing here is a lot of desaturated green and yellow type colors. Even the blue on his tail is more like a natural gray blue. He's not, he's not like this, right? Those are green and yellow. And he's green and yellow, but you can clearly see he's not this, right? So that's what I mean when I'm saying like the desaturated effect of some of those washes could be very beneficial. Could try it on, the probably best place to try it would be like on somebody's tabard. Like just if you want to see if you like the effect. Or if somebody has a cape. I know I think it's the Stern Guard, have a whole bunch of little tabards hanging from them, from the mini Marines. Yeah, all right. All right, so it looks like our Space Marines are done. Just need a little bit of maybe I can do that right now. trying to add some red. Let me see. Add a little bit of red to these guys because they're Raven Guard. So just so they have a little more red to pop to make them fit in with the guys that aren't completely covered in cloaks. It's getting pretty warm in here because I have all the fans off, just so hopefully it doesn't interrupt, so you don't hear it on the microphone. Yeah, I mean, just try it on a tabard, or even you could try it on a purity seal. Paint a purity seal, like maybe a light gray. Put that wash on, and then highlight back up to like your paper color or whatever, cotton color. I usually go with the Agrax Earth Shade wash for my purity seals. Yeah, it's weird. Do you play, I don't know, do you game weekly? For me, I pretty much like clockwork. Go to the game store Wednesday night for painting, hang out. And then Friday night for painting. And then I usually go Saturday and pretty much spend most of the day there playing games. Actually, I usually play on Saturdays. And without, the game stores having game rooms open, it does feel, just my week feels like weird, I guess. Not weird. Trying to think of the word here. Trying to think of the word and do some detail work at the same time. Just feels like my routine, I guess. That's probably what I should say. Feels like my routine's messed up. So now I don't really, when I wake up, when I go to bed, when I eat dinner, all that just doesn't, I work on my stuff to ship late at night. I paint, but that's about, I really limit TV. Oh, that was smart. I should have done that with the other one. Oh, you get a game once a month? Yeah, so I mean, I play once a week usually. Not 40K necessarily all the time, but I'll play something. And now it's been a couple weeks already. I did have one day of just like, I don't want to do hobby stuff. I don't want to, I was playing like some stupid app on my phone. Just got like nothing done. Felt like I was just wasting all my time. Then I pretty much went outside and went for a walk around the neighborhood. And that kind of got the blood flowing again and got me out of the little funk, I guess. Not really funk, because it was just a day of like, wow, that felt like a lazy day. One thing that's good, well, during this quarantine virus thing, is you can still go out and go for, well, maybe you can't, I don't know. The government might have said you just have to stay inside. We're, more social distancing in Arizona, so I can still go out and go for a walk. And really, even if you were practicing any form of it, like when you go out, I've never really gone for walks, but since the gym's closed and everything, you got to do something. And you can't go to a restaurant or anything because that's not a good idea right now. So the going for a walk around the neighborhood actually turned out to be pretty relaxing, and there's really nobody out there, so there's no risk. I was talking to somebody on Facebook, and they were like, "Oh," made a joke that when you go for a walk, you can find free oranges because people grow citrus fruit on trees, and the trees grow hundreds of them, and you can just take an orange. And he was like, "Oh, that's stealing." And I was like, well, usually those trees have like 50 oranges just sitting on the ground. And my parents have a lemon tree, and it's small, and it still produces way more lemons than you can ever eat. So I didn't really feel like it was stealing to take one orange off of somebody's tree, and literally a part of a tree that's hanging off their backyard almost over to the sidewalk. It's not like I went up by their front door. And anyway, but then he's like, "Oh, and then you're putting yourself at risk for the virus because somebody could sneeze." And I'm just thinking like, all right, I'm a little paranoid, but yeah, exactly. It's only stealing if they know about it. Yeah, it's an orange. It's not $1 even, these trees just crank them out and drop them on the ground. But he's like, "Oh yeah, and that's a smart way to get coronavirus." And I'm like, "Yeah, how am I going to get that?" And he's like, "Somebody walking by could cough or sneeze, and then the droplets or whatever could get on the piece of fruit, because it's within 15 feet and live there for X amount of days or hours." I'm just like, good Lord, you'd be more likely to get struck by lightning than catch this virus by eating a random piece of fruit off a random tree in a random neighborhood. Like the chances of somebody infected walking by and coughing at that exact moment, and then it landing on the one of thousands of fruits hanging from these trees, if not millions. Well, depending on the big enough area, it's definitely millions. But it was just, yeah, and then I guess you get contaminated when you peel the Corona orange and eat it. Because obviously I did have hand sanitizer in my pocket, but I did not wash my hands. But yeah, it seemed the chances of it just were like ridiculous that he was talking about it. But he's kind of I don't know, I think he's a conspiracy theorist. I think he just, for some reason, I think he thought every surface outside of the house is covered in coronavirus, which of course is not true. And what's his name? Dr. Fauci, the director of infectious diseases or whatever in the United States, said, first of all, that the virus can live much longer on hard surfaces than soft surfaces. And the real worry is close contact with people, because moisture in the air, you can breathe it in if they cough or sneeze especially. And the reason you want to wash your hands and try to limit touching things in public spaces is because people cough and sneeze into their hand and then they touch things. So the chances of it being on a random piece of fruit on a tree is like, I bet you'd be more likely to win the Powerball twice or the lottery. No chance. Now, if that person that owned that tree was out there with it, literally touching and coughing on all the fruit, but not picking them for themselves, then you might be able to get it. But I mean, the atmosphere alone outside, like if you were standing face to face talking to somebody outside and they sneezed, you'd be, your chances to get it maybe are a little higher. But if you were one of 10 people outside at a park or something, with some distance between you, with the amount of air and stuff in the world, I think it'd be very limiting on your chances of contracting it, unless you're literally close to people. Yeah. That would be so lame, because he would think he's right, even though it would totally be because I went to freaking the grocery store 5 times and not because I had the forbidden orange. But he would automatically think he was correct. if I, caught it or whatever, be like, oh, I told you about those infected oranges. Where I eat a lot of produce, so the fruit and stuff at the grocery store is way more dangerous. And you can wash it and stuff, but I'm not using dish soap to wash an apple. And people are actually picking up the fruit, looking at it for spots or mold or whatever, and then putting it back down. So those fruits are way more high risk than taking fruit off a tree. Yeah, that would be pretty ironic too, because literally the vitamins in oranges are supposed to boost your immune system. So it'd be the exact opposite effect of why you would be eating an orange. Yeah, I don't have any. I have rubbing alcohol, but I don't think I'm going to dip an apple in that. I don't own any alcohol. Fun time juice. I quit drinking like 3 years ago, so I'm limited on my sanitizing beverages. Hey, we got a new person in the chat. Ewan Walker 2001. Finally caught you live. I backed the Ghost Brush Kickstarter. I look great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, we were just dry brushing a little bit earlier. Yeah, my setup's not good for showing, but there's a little like medical doctor guy I'm painting for a game called Deep Madness. Yeah. We're just sitting here chit-chatting about hobby and state of the world and whatever. So feel free to jump in. I'm getting a little bit of painting done. Oh, so are you allowed to leave the house to grocery shop? Or is that like a specified time? Like you can leave once a week, or you got to ask permission? Or I'm curious how that works. Oh yeah, we're also talking about, because I took an orange off a random tree, that I probably have coronavirus now, according to somebody on my Facebook. He also compared buying stocks, because I talk about financial stuff sometimes, and he also compared buying stocks to profiting off other people's hard work the same way as like robbing them if they like picking the lock on their front door and robbing them was the same as investing in the stock market. So I think he's a little bit out there as far as his thoughts on things. Okay, so you are on lockdown. You can go to the store, but you might get pulled over and asked what you're doing out of your house. That's like Judge Dredd or some kind of apocalyptic type scenario. Yeah, definitely walking around outside as long as there's no other people around. The cities are like, Phoenix is a huge city. The city of Phoenix, like horizontally, is bigger than the state of New Jersey. So when I'm out going for a walk, it's even rare I see more than one or two people, and it's pretty easy to cross the street. Like obviously there's millions of people here, but most people aren't out going for walks. So your chances of coming into contact, and plus if somebody's sick, they might not be going for a walk, right? They'd probably be home. Of course, the real scary part is people can spread it without knowing they even have it. Yeah. Oh, when I lived in Vegas, I used to always have the pepperoni Hot Pockets in my freezer. And I was just partying all the time, eating booze and fast food and stuff. But when I lived by myself, I always kept those pepperoni pizza Hot Pockets, because it was like a good way to get like the craving of pizza. Like if you're like, man, I really want pizza, but you didn't want to order like $30 worth of delivery. So you just throw that little Hot Pocket in, I like ranch on my pizza, and it would solve all my pizza cravings. Although I don't eat any of that anymore. Yeah, that's crazy. I'd love to hear. You in the game store that I hang out at just closed today. They had already closed their game room and painting room for a couple weeks, and then today they decided to just close up, whereas the store was open. And I mean, Games Workshop closed worldwide, like 500 stores, plus the factory and the warehouses in Warhammer World. Like, wow, that's insane. And then now, not like I've been going a lot of play. Like, I feel like I've been going to the store almost to get out of the house, so you can like go out for a walk or whatever, and then you can go to the store. And yeah, if I go to the post office, actually now if I go to the store or the post office, I've been wearing a mask. Post office especially, because it just seems like generally there's older people there. So even if I was infected by my forbidden orange, I don't want to give it to them. Yeah, my mom has COPD, so I try to limit any chance. I'll wear a mask if I go over to my parents' house. But yeah, like a lot of bars and restaurants and stuff here have kind of closed down, or fast food restaurants are like drive-through only now. Some people are doing like curbside pickup or DoorDash, stuff like that, or Uber Eats, some of those food delivery services. I saw somebody on Facebook put up a thing that they were making like a ton of extra money driving for like one of those delivery food services like DoorDash or Uber Eats, like making like $800 extra a week doing it, because right now so many people are active using it because they want to get, they don't want to cook or whatever, they just want to order food. So yeah, UK issued a lockdown on Tuesday. I was hoping GW would get the new Space Wolf mod set sent out before they closed up the last day. Yeah, I would almost have expected that. I don't even know. I wasn't there today. So did none of those Gazgulls ship? Like that new Space Wolf Gazgull set? None of them even shipped to anybody? And actually, I'm going to say probably not, because normally all the Facebook groups I'm in would be, posting their work in progress pictures of those new models. Yeah, so this is the artwork for the Doctor I'm painting for the game Massive Darkness. Looks like he's basically just in a blue or a white outfit with blue gloves, some brown belts and stuff. So he should be easy. I'll have him finish probably pretty quick. Oh, so I guess I haven't seen any Gazgulls. Maybe he did get shipped out to some people. Maybe. So it seems like maybe if you pre-ordered it from Games Workshop, you got it. Oh wow, yeah, maybe just to make sure everybody has it at the same time, they have to ship those ones out early around the world. Yeah, so it's possible today was the last day that my game store was open. Maybe they got them in for people to pick them up. Which, man, what a extra, kick in the groin. If you were like, oh, I'm quarantined, but at least I get to spend this next 2 weeks or whatever trying my best and painting the best Gazgull I can ever paint. Oh, nope, lockdown. No Gazgull. All right, I think we're going to highlight some little skulls. On some Space Marines here. Too much. Yeah, that's crazy. You would really think that, especially you being in the same country, like seems like they almost would have like well, obviously it depends on the state of what's happening in your country. But you would think it'd be like, okay, we're gonna ship all these out to the UK people and then close. Okay, that skull looks like a little blob of crap. That didn't work. Yeah, sorry, I had to hold my breath there for a second. Trying to paint these little skulls in their pouches. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm trying to use this lockdown, well, not lockdown, but self social distancing, self quarantine, uh, to like clear my desk. So like my little Rumble Slam team, my board game that I'm working on, these Space Marines. Like I'm trying to get all these kind of half finished projects done, put away. I already finished 15 little, like 15 mil guys for Gaslands. I finished a special character for Rumble Slam. Next, I'm going to work on Dire Avengers. I'm going to finish my Iron Father. And then I'll have basically my desk cleared, and I'll probably work on either an Eldar Farseer or maybe a unit of 10 Swooping Hawks. But yeah, actually, I have a creature caster, big demon that. Oh my god, this is just not working. Now would maybe be a good time to work on him since I'm not, after I finish my queue, basically. Since I'm not necessarily trying to finish something for a specific game night or anything, since I won't be getting to play any games. The crazy part too is it's like, oh, it's on lockdown. Oh, by the way, we hope to be open by May. And it's like, of course, nobody knows. And May is over a month away or a month away. So that's good. And they're like, oh, we hope to be open by May. So who knows, right? And then when everything's kind of back to normal, how normal is it for a while? What's Crimbo? I want a Crimbo Prezi. That's a funny slang. Is that a Christmas present? Yeah, that would be fun. I actually have a whole bunch of the. Yeah, it worked out or not worked out. I actually thought about after I finished kind of my work in progress stuff to get it all off my area here. I have 3 boxes of the Cawdor guys with the weapon upgrade sprues I bought at one of the Adepticons or LVOs. So I can make like 30 different Cawdor gangsters. And I have a whole bunch of Goliaths already done. But so that's another thing. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll work on my Cawdor. It's just a fun project, even though there's, we haven't really talked about getting a Necromunda. Well, we talked a little bit about getting a Necromunda campaign going again, some of my friends, but it's not right on the, May 1st, we're not starting, but or the Greater Demon, or probably be good to just work on some Eldar guys. Yeah, well, luckily, hopefully the virus will be long gone, but because I'm probably not shipping until, my plan was start shipping probably June. Start shipping in June, and then it's however long it takes. And I usually work, there's the tier level with the monster, and I usually kind of work, that one's the first one, and then I'll work kind of from the bigger ones down is generally how I do it, because you get that satisfaction of, oh, I finished shipping all of this tier, right? There was 100 people in this tier. So once I finish that, it's like, check, that tier's done, check, that tier's done. And the smaller tiers tend to have way more people. So it just gives you that sense of like accomplishment of like, okay, this tier's done, this tier's done, this tier's done. Now let's work on this one. And, hopefully that doesn't take too long. I am working on a solution, which I can't talk about quite yet. I guess I could, but I'm not gonna. I guess I am talking about it. I got a solution with possibly some better quality control coming from the factory itself, which means less quality control needed to be done by me, which means faster shipping times. Other solution would be hiring another person to work on the brushes as well. But the eBay ones, yeah, those are going to be fresh. I don't have. Well, I do have that. I did eat that forbidden orange. I was going to say I could rinse them off in rubbing alcohol or something. Yes. I don't know. Oh, that'd be cool. Do like the Goliath, but with all the big bearded Space Wolf heads. Although the way the Necromunda kits are all designed is like those Goliaths, you have to glue their face onto the Mohawk. So like head swaps and stuff are going to require probably a little hobby saw. You're going to have to probably cut the whole head off and then figure out how to put your Space Wolf head on it. Or maybe you could just green stuff little beards on them. But that'd be cool if you had like an extra Wolfen or somebody. Yeah, like a Wolfen to use as your brute. Or I didn't pick up the Book of Chains yet, but I know there's like some kind of bigger guys in that new box set that came out. I didn't get those yet. Yeah, you're going to have to cut up the Goliath. My best painting award, as far as how cool it is I won Best Painted at Adepticon last year for my Goliath game. I played not in like the Crystal Brush, but in just the tournament. I played in an event, kind of a friendly event. It's not really a tournament. Actually, if you ever go to Adepticon, in my experience, I just played one time at Necromunda. It wasn't competitive at all. It was really just 16 guys hanging out playing some Necromunda. So it was pretty fun. It was definitely worth it. And then the first year I went, I played in the 40K. Oh, anyway, I won a big medal, like a skull cog medal for Best Painted. So that was pretty cool. And I won a box of Khador. So that's how I got my third box of Khador, which was worth it because it's only like $20 to play in the event, maybe less. And then I won a $40 kit. Plus I won a little terrain thing and I got a big medal. So yeah, I love the Khador. I almost feel like I would love to have like an Imperial Guard army or something as all Khador models. Or Sisters of Battle Army is all Cawdor models. That could be pretty sweet too. Or even a Chaos Cultist army or something. Yeah, from what I've heard too, the virus is way more survivable on hard surfaces like steel and stuff like doorknobs, and less survivable on soft surfaces. I don't know why that is, but that's what if I heard it correctly, the director, the director for the Center of Infectious Diseases or something in the United States, he is consulted on like swine flu, SARS, bird flu, mad cow disease, maybe like he's basically been the guy who's God, I can't think of words right now. Helped, I think, like the last 9 presidents or something like that. I think he's helped 9. Nah, that doesn't seem right. That's too high. But anyway, he's helped basically all the presidents on infectious diseases here in the US anyway. There actually, I think I just saved in my watch later. I found on YouTube there was I think a South Korean expert on viruses in an interview on, I think the channel is called Asian Boss. And I think South Korea has kind of successfully battled it, right? They had a really high spike, and now I think they've kind of successfully calmed it down or whatever. So he might be worth listening to. Yeah. I was making a joke on Facebook that when I run out of toilet paper, I have satin sheets. I'm going to cut them up into little strips, start using that. I'm going to be living in luxury once the TP runs out. Hey, in the United Kingdom or England, is toilet paper hard to find? Because here in the US, everybody is just buying up all the toilet paper as if that's the most important thing to stock up on. I was going to the store and finding like, beans and rice and food and like bananas were always sold out. Bleach is always sold out. Pretty much all cleaning products sold out. Toilet paper is just nowhere to be found. You have to go really early in the morning, I guess. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's good. It's not just us that's buying all the toilet. I'm happy that you guys are buying the toilet paper too now. I feel like if I was in a real life survival situation, toilet paper would not be my first need. It'd be very, very low on the list, if at all. I don't think it actually would not make the list. Yeah, I think for toilet paper here, you got to go because I think they overstock or stock the store at night, and then I think you have to go in the morning. But a lot of our stores opened up to the elderly for the first hour. Maybe not a lot, but it seems like a lot. I keep just seeing stuff online, but the so like the grocery stores from like 7 to 8 will be for like 50 and older people, and then from 8 till 10 or whatever, 10 p.m. it would be the rest just open normal hours. But yeah, we have kind of like a high risk elderly special hour of shopping going on, which is cool. Unless they're buying all the toilet paper, then it's not cool. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of stores are doing it. I think just some. I think I said a lot, but yeah. First of all, on that subject, the toilet paper. All right. So first of all, running water would have to stop because my toilet's directly located next to my shower. So technically, I don't need toilet paper at all because I could just hop in the shower and figure that out. Now, if for some reason this virus caused running water to stop, then I'm cutting up my satin sheets. And then after that, I'm cutting up, you see all those cardboard boxes? Those are all boxes for shipping things like ghost brushes. And I think I could probably figure out a way to peel apart the cardboard and get it relatively useful. Yeah, I mean, running water would have to stop for, and then also there's that thing that dogs do when they get their leg up and they scoot on their butt on the grass. And I already said I'm going for walks looking for oranges. So there's plenty of grass out there too. I found a park. Just a quick. And the park has a sandbox too. Be like a cat. Go over there in the sandbox, bury it, scoot around on the grass, and then run before somebody calls the cops. That's ridiculous. All right, I think we're going to put a little bit of Agrax Earthshade, which I know I just bought a new one, but I had an old one. Oh, there it is. One downside, though, is I try to eat really healthy, and which means I have a lot of fresh produce, and I eat a lot of. I got one of those really fancy blenders, and I drink like 2 liters of green smoothie every day, which is basically made up of like spinach and kale and any other greens I can find and put in, and then fruit to make it sweet. And stuff like that doesn't last very long, so I've had to go to the store like probably way more than is recommended during this time. So I'm trying to stock up without having to go to the store all the time. But like tomorrow or Tuesday, if I go to the post office to ship your package, Zane, my natural instinct is going to be, I better go to the store and buy more baby spinach and bananas. Actually, seems like now the stores are getting a little more back to normal here. But in the beginning, you couldn't even find bananas. Like, for some reason, people were hoarding bananas, I guess. Which I get. I guess they're delicious, but they don't keep very long. Now, what I do is I buy a whole bunch of bananas at a time, and then I freeze them once they get ripe and use them in my smoothies. Yeah, I got Death Shroud Clay right here. I was using it on my doctor here. It's so good. So fun. Yeah, I think you'll really like the Death Shroud Clear. And then just when you're done, hit it with your whatever varnish you like, matte coat or satin coat, because it does dry a bit glossy. Oh, same with that panel liner too. That dries glossy as well. And I don't, you get the black or the brown, or I think they might have some other colors too. This is the black panel liner. Yeah, at least if you buy any of the plant milks, like oat or soy or cashew or hemp or almond or coconut or whatever, you don't even have to refrigerate those unless they're open. So those would be easy to stock up on if you're trying to stock up on things to put in your cereal. I can't remember if this is water-based. Oh, no, this is enamel paint, right? So this is not water-based. But you don't have to use a paintbrush with it. Although if you do use a paintbrush with it, just use like the 98% rubbing alcohol and that should clean it, I believe. But these, they have a little dropper, like you said, and it's pretty fine. Like that teeny tiny little brush tip. So I've never had to use a brush with this. I've always just used straight out of that. I wonder if we can demonstrate that on something. Trying to find something that needs some panel lining here. We need something that'll show up though. Well, I was going to show you how that panel line. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it right now. I was going to try and show you how that is easily used, but don't know if I have like a model to try it on. At least one that'll show up. I don't know if this is a Hot Wheel car for Gaslands, but all right, let's see. See his eye there on this little Piranha car? We're going to try. Oh, okay. I'm going to try it anyway. Let's see if we can. We're not even going to be able to look at it. Well, I got it all over. But you see how it's kind of filled it in? Obviously, I put a lot on, but right there, it darkened that whole eye all the way around just by touching it. So cool. And actually, what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to use this panel line as a wash for this whole red car. I'm going to just put it pretty generously on everything and let it just grime up my Gasland car here. One thing with these Gasland cars, if you've seen people painting them and playing Gaslands, is we're using Hot Wheels, and people barely do anything to the Hot Wheels, and they look like little crappy toy cars. So I feel like weathering them up and trying to put some time into making them look cool is definitely worth it. And the cars are only $1, so it's you can afford to play around and try new stuff with the Hot Wheels. So yeah, I'm just using a little brush from the cap and just putting this on pretty much everywhere. And now this is going to be sloppy on him, but it's because Gaslands is a post-apocalyptic game, and I don't mind it being sloppy. I kind of want it to be grimy and weathered. Yeah, this is really cool. And it's another one too that you're going to want to use some kind of varnish because because it's an enamel, it's going to dry with a different finish than your normal acrylic paints. And all that means is you just need to varnish it just to unify the finish on the model to make it look good. Unless you like leaving some parts kind of glossy and some parts matte, like your metallics glossy and your clothes and stuff matte. But with these type of products, the problem would be the gloss would be in the shadows, which would mean that would make it more reflective to the light in the room you're playing in, and that would kind of kill the effect of it being your shadow area because it's going to look brighter because it's going to be reflecting light. So yeah, you can see here, he's all, I didn't really do it before and after, but I did in the fins there. You can see he's already getting darkened up. And this is like a really smooth model, like a little toy car from Hot Wheels. So you can see how well it would work on an actual miniature with some real recessed details and stuff. All right, we're going to do the whole wheels and everything. All right, I'm glad you mentioned this because now I'm going to be way farther along on this car than I was. Since I'll have this step done and it will dry before tomorrow. Whereas I probably wasn't going to work on this car at all tonight. Yeah, and if you really had a big area, I guess you could use a big paintbrush or a paintbrush to really slop it on. But this little applicator, you can just touch it right into the little cracks and it'll just pull through all the little recesses. It's really cool. Right now I'm using it a little different. I'm using it kind of like a wash, but that's okay too. And I think it's always fun to mess around with new paints and stuff. With my Eldar, I've been doing oil washes and stuff. And I really want to play more with oil painting because that's what I used to do quite a bit. I went to school for oil painting before I dropped out and became a party animal. But so I like the idea of using all my oil paints in miniatures because I love oil paints. I like the smell. I think they make the best paintings. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, he's got a little weird pooling up here, but we'll just wipe that away. And by wipe that away, I mean actually I don't care because I'll dry brush a bit on top. So we're going to let that stay pooled. And it can just be like an oil grime or oil stain. Some cool paints I've got from a friend are these ones. They're kind of weird. They do unique kind of things, but transparent raw sienna, transparent burnt sienna, and transparent burnt umber from Liquitex. So you got 3 transparent browns. Make kind of cool washes. You can add them to washes, change colors. You can shoot them through the airbrush. They do kind of bead up a little bit, I've noticed when I shoot them through the airbrush. If you saw on my Kickstarter, the skull, that was like a resin skull I bought off Amazon and I painted it. And a lot of that was those inks plus dry brushing like bone colors with the ghost dry brushes. Oh, I'm a little behind on my comments here. Oh, yeah, the hoarding the milk is pretty funny. The Tamiya is coming from Taiwan? Yeah, the dark brown will be probably useful too on like all the furs and wolf stuff on Space Wolves for sure. Also, a dark brown's not a terrible color to blue, shadow blue, except it'll be maybe look a little dirtier, but there's ways to avoid it. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. More scale modelers are using that. I think I've seen a video where somebody was painting like a model train, like shipping container with like some oil washes or like that panel liner. Panel liner is basically it's an enamel wash, but it's basically going to act just like an oil wash. Yeah, I love the Gaslands cars. I've been having fun. I've been painting. I got quite a few here, work in progress ones. Got the station wagon with the machine gunner on top, and a Ram, big engine. I got the little sports car with the machine gun. I showed you the This is like a bit from a 40K terrain thing, but he's got the trumpet coming up top. This was like a little toaster oven car. See, it's got the outlet on the side there, the plug. Some little doors on the back. And then I got like an armored food truck. I used old Empire shields to put like shield protection on and big spikes on the front for like a ram. Yeah, stormtroopers you could do with it. You can also do the stormtroopers with the Death Shroud Clear. It works really, really well for them. That's what everybody's been buying it at the local store when I told them about it for. My friend Roger was painting his stormtroopers, and he's like, "Oh, would you suggest Nuln Oil or done?" I was like, "Man, you should try this Death Shroud Clear," and he loved it and immediately bought it after trying it on one model. Gaslands, yeah, it's like post-apocalyptic car wars. The story of it, I guess, is Earth is abandoned and an apocalyptic type thing. The rich people went to Mars. I guess that could even be somewhat of a Total Recall, although I don't think the rich people lived on Mars in Total Recall. And the rich people watch the Gaslands televised events. So there's like a TV show, which is kind of like Running Man or maybe Hunger Games or something like that. Yeah, and the rich people on Mars are watching like the gladiators basically fight in their cars. Yeah, like Mad Max. Definitely like Fury Road and Mad Max. Like every car everybody's doing is like Fury Road. And it's cool. It's pretty simple. You roll dice, you use the dice to shift up or shift down, to spin and turn. And if you get people in your firing arc, you can shoot them. You can ram them. You can drop out mines and sentry guns and lots of cool little weapons. We've been playing it quite a bit. One team, though, definitely snowballed really hard. And after like 4 or 5 games, some of us were just left way too far behind. So we all kind of were, some people that were far behind just stuck with their team. My team got pretty much wrecked. I started a new team. And I mean, that's kind of true with a lot of campaign games, is there can be some snowballing, but there's really no underdog system to prevent snowballing, from what I can tell. Nothing of really any substance. But it's cool. The book's like $30. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. You buy Hot Wheel cars for $1. You glue all your little Space Marine bits. And make cool little cars. Or I have a sprue of bits that I bought that somebody makes for the game. That's where like this little machine gunner came from an actual Gaslands upgrade sprue. I think Warlord Games maybe makes them or something. I don't know if I have them. Actually, I don't even know where that sprue is. It's probably, I think it's in a board game box that we played one weekend. Yeah. Elysium was what? Matt Damon lives in like LA and it's poor and gang ridden, and then everybody lives on Mars or the moon and they're rich and they have like good medicine and stuff. Yeah, man, I think I saw that movie once. And he's got like he's like cyberpunked up with the exoskeleton, right? Yeah, with the oil washes too, if you gloss coat, like that panel liner, if you gloss coat your models and then use that, it'll be really easy to just put it in all the little recesses and then wipe away any kind of staining or whatever around the areas if you really just want a perfectly clean recess shade. And then when that's all dry, you can go back in and matte coat it or satin coat it. I'm pretty much addicted to the AK Ultra Matte varnish. It's the most matte, beautiful varnish there is. Although if you're using metallics, it completely kills your metallics and turns them, like you'll turn silvers into like gray paint, which I think is pretty cool. It looks pretty cool when it's all said and done, but some people will paint their whole model, matte coat it, and then paint all their metallics to keep the shine on the metallics, but the matte on the other surfaces. Okay, yeah, they just live on like a space station. Yeah, the I have some of the Vallejo ones. It's a primer, but yeah, I was for a while. I was buying the Mecha, so the Mecha satin varnish. I'll use this on board game miniatures mostly because I think it provides a little more protection than the matte coat does. I don't know if it's true. It's probably not, but I feel like the Mecha line is maybe a little more durable because those Mecha models are like really articulated and people play with them and touch them a lot. I heard that the Mecha line was like a more durable varnish and primer and paint. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do use the Mecha satin on board game miniatures mostly, or commissions, because sometimes people don't like the completely matted out coat. And everything I've entered in like competitions, when I try to do that, I use the AK Ultra Matte. Oh, I have another one too. I haven't tried. Check on that? I don't know that one. This one I haven't tried it. It's by MIG or MIG, Ammo MIG, Ultra Matte Lucky Varnish. So I think because of maybe the popularity of the AK, I'm pretty sure AK and MIG are the main competitors of each other as far as scale modeling, like model tanks go. It's like AK and MIG, or Ammo MIG, or whatever it's called, Ammo by MIG. I think they're the main competitors. So I think because of the love of the Ultra Matte varnish that they came out with their own Ultra Matte Lucky varnish. And I have not tried this yet. And if you've seen this YouTube channel, Andy's Hobby Headquarters, which is a big hobby YouTube channel for scale models, he's local and only about 4 miles from me. So I'll go there and I'll buy, he has all this stuff, panel liners and model car and model tank type products. I have some other ones that I don't know if I know where they are. I have like a oil brusher. It's like a rust oil paint pen, which I have no idea where that is right now. I guess that's a good thing about trying to clear up some stuff off your hobby space, is you kind of remember like, oh, I just bought sandpaper for the 4th time and it turns out I still have it. That sort of thing. What else do I buy? Oh, he also sells this at the Andy's Hobby Headquarters, the plastic putty, Vallejo plastic putty. The best. It's 100% acrylic resin. It's water-based. You can use it with water and a paintbrush. You can clean it off your paintbrush with water, but put it on like the cracks on models, and I just use my finger to wipe it away. It's really, really good and fast for filling in cracks and stuff on models. And it has this long applicator tip, like a really long pointy tip, which is awesome. And I've only seen it in this kind of toothpaste style tube at Andy's. Maybe you can get it online, but at the local game store that I play at, they have it, but it'll be in this style bottle, like a dropper bottle with the big tip. So there's a big difference when you're trying to just put a little bit in a little mold line or crack in a model. Having this tip is super valuable. So I love this, and it's really cheap. And I think I bought 5 of them last time. I'm going to check just for fun. Let's see what we got down here. don't make it over to Andy's very often. So, I also picked up this one, the Tamiya White Putty, which I don't remember if I tried. It's open. I might have tried it and not liked it as much. I think I got this. Yeah, I tried it once. I got this one off eBay, I think. And this one, Tamiya, is the same. Oh, never mind. It's not open. Never tried it. But I think it's the same. I don't know if it's water-based to fill in cracks and stuff on models. It's all in like Japanese. I can't read it. But last time I was at Andy's, he had these in. And since I don't make it over there that often, it does appear I bought 4 of them. That way, for a long time, I won't need that ever again. So, love that product. So good. It's really good on Reaper Bones models. If you paint any Reaper Bones models, sometimes I paint those to sell and stuff. And things like this owl bear, he will have, probably can't see, a lot of times he'll have, actually this one looks pretty good. He'll have mold or gaps in the model. And also he's covered in fur. This would be really, really good for Space Wolves. So you can fill in your gap, like say on a wolf. Well, I guess I can demonstrate it on my hand or something. Maybe I should probably use a darker surface because my skin's so white. All right, hold on. Let's open this out. Yeah, if you have, yeah, so, okay, so you leave the gap. So yeah, if you don't want to, or want a really easy way to fill them, because yeah, if you don't want to roll out green stuff and put a little sausage and do that in there. So let's see if we can see this. Can you see his gap on his shoulder there? Right there? That line? You can actually sculpt the feathers and fill that with this. And by sculpt, I mean all I'm doing is dabbing it and adding texture, which is not feathery, but because it has some texture, it's going to blend in a lot better. And all I'm doing is giving it a little squeeze and just dabbing at it. And you can kind of form little peaks, which is going to give it that little feather texture. Done. And it has a texture to it. So now when he's primed, you're not going to notice that anymore. And that took a second. Oh, there's one more spot I want to get. And yeah, you could do that over the whole model. So it would work really well on if you needed to blend in like some kind of wolf fur. So that's a really, really great product for that. If you had 2 pieces that went together, it happens a lot on AdMech, their cloaks are like, use the Mecha matte varnish. Check a Mecha. Yeah, I have the Mecha matte too. It's not nearly as matte though as the Ultra matte from AK. It's not even close. It's good though. Pick up a Gundam at some point. Yeah, I don't really like the Gundams. I don't know. I don't think they look that cool unless they're completely repainted and redone and weathered to an extreme standard. But I did buy a Bandai Mega Man, who I love Mega Man. And I was going to try to make a little diorama, but I've actually been having a hard time filling in. Oh my God. Filling in the gaps because he's like a toy from Bandai. Let me put his head on. So yeah, you can see actually I was using that putty to try to fill in his articulated joints. And then primed them and then had to realize I did not do a good enough job, so I was priming them up again So here's a Mega Man Bandai kit. He wasn't one you really had to, I used a couple pieces, but he was really, really articulated, and I basically glued him in this pose. And then he would be thoroughly painted and made into a little diorama, which I've never really done before, so he was going to be for that, which could be cool. Put the owl bear away. But yeah, on the AdMech cloaks, there'll be like half the cloak front, half back, half, and they glue together, and there'll be a clear line, like where my two palms are pushed together. And you can just run a little bead of this, like, and then take your finger and wipe it away, and it'll leave it in the crack and basically wipe 95% of it away. So if you get two flat surfaces, it's really, really good. Like a tank or something, it's so good. Repulsor, any kind of Space Marine tank, because they have such big flat surfaces. Yeah, I would try to with my AdMech cloaks, because I had them before I had that product, I would over glue them. And I do that still sometimes, where I'll purposely use more super glue or whatever, or more plastic glue, and then really try to push them in, and that way the glue hopefully naturally fills the crack. I definitely try that quite a bit as well. I'm going to turn on my fan. Let me know if you can hear that fan going, but it's actually getting pretty hot. So, got all my lights on, even though they're LEDs, I guess. This one's LED. I don't know what that one is. Just a big bulb. Well, maybe we should turn that one back on. It's too dark. But it's getting a little toasty over here. Oh, I guess I got to put away my... Yeah, so I think this is kind of the same product. Oh, it's maybe English on here. This one says it can be cured with Tamiya lacquer thinner, used for repairing and modifying plastic models. This putty can also be used for repairing and covering surface of metal and wooden models. Do not use putty for any other purpose than modeling. Use and allow to dry in a well-ventilated area. After use, wipe putty off tube thread with cloth. Okay. Wash tools with Tamiya lacquer thinner. So this one's not water-based like the Vallejo one. So this one's a pain in the butt, and that one's nice. That's what I've decided. And now I'll probably put this away and never use it, because I have 4 of the Vallejo ones. And if they're doing the same job, actually what I'll end up using something like that for is probably like a big base or something. Like when I make, I don't know if I've ever showed, it's been a long time if I have, when you make like a big base, you could use something like that modeling putty to, decorate it or whatever. This is actually a base I made for my big creature caster, Keeper of Secrets. And I made it out of ordnance templates because they are useless now in 8th edition, right? We don't need them anymore. So what I did is I glued 2 40K ordnance templates together. And then after they were dry, I used putty and sandpaper to clean the edge. And then decorate it with a whole bunch of Vallejo mud and cork and rocks and all kinds of stuff. And I'll try to show you. He doesn't actually fit, though. He needs more. So this is the guy I was maybe going to paint during this. I was trying to figure out, he kind of fits. Like there's no exact way to put him. But so he can kind of be put in there. He's not exactly fit to it. But anyway, he basically I would put him in and then add more stuff to blend in his base he comes on with this base. Was the initial idea. Obviously, I've had him for a while now and haven't worked on him much. But he was coming out cool when I was, and I kind of want to finish him because I love this model. This is the best Keeper of Secrets model ever. And that includes the new one from GW, which I do think is good. But this is a terrifying Slaanesh monster. And I just love the claws. And you can see my love for claws in my model I got designed for the Ghost Kickstarter. I had my designer guy make our guy have a claw on the Swamp Troll. Because I love the claws. Yeah, I don't know. I guess a lot of people like the Gundams because they're so articulated and you can make them stand in different ways on your shelf. But because they're so articulated in the colored plastic, to me they look more like a toy unless they're completely repainted. Yeah, the putty, I mean, it's so effortless. And you can use your paintbrush to try to wipe it away. It's water-based, so you can actually thin it down and paint it into areas and actually clean it off your brush and just your water cup. So it's a lot of advantages. I never liked filling the gaps. I would try to use extra super glue and this and that. And then when I found that product, it's so forgiving in the fact that it's water-based and easy to use. So I started using it a lot more. All right, looks like we're coming up on 2 hours and 17 minutes. I think I am about done for the night. I think I'm going to have to use the restroom and make a snack. It's 4 a.m. and maybe go to sleep. I think that's about it for me. Hopefully everybody's staying safe from our horrible invader, the coronavirus. And hopefully you guys got some painting done, or at least had a good time hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with me. I got some stuff done. I even filled in a mold line on an owl bear, so now maybe I'll get him painted. I guess, is he technically a work in progress now that I have to finish off my hobby area since he's open? Maybe. Although he is fast to paint. And I painted 2 owl bears and sold them both on eBay for about $40 each. And so I might paint him up, put him up for 50. So I love painting models and selling them. It feels so. I always wanted to be a professional oil painter or painter, and the feeling of selling a painted model always feels like yeah, I'm a painter. Like these guys are commissions, I like, oh, you're gonna pay me to paint. That's fun. So it's always fun. I like the thrill of it. 4:07 in the morning. Yeah, these ones, I don't know if people ever go back and watch these whole entire streams, but for the people in the chat and everything, I feel like they're always full of good information and hanging out and fun. All right, you enjoy your lunch. I might need a little late night lunch type food here too. My dinner was kind of like a small little bit of leftovers from last night's dinner. So I think I might actually need to eat some. So anyway, all right. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate all the support, you guys. Thank you for supporting the Kickstarter. I'll have your paintbrushes shipped out, Zane, from the eBay purchase soon. Ewan, I'll have them soon enough, hopefully. And I wish you guys all a good night. Stay safe. Take care of your families. Adios.